Welcome to a special Adam Gold Show After Dark. It is time to look at, what are we, match week 10 already? That's Jay
We
Kumar.
are at match week 10. Yep.
Gosh, I can't believe we are past the quarter pole of the Premier League season. It is remarkable. That's Jay Kumar. I'm Adam Gold. And should we just dive right into it? You want to look back at your side's come from behind, kind of crazy, bad goal 2-2 draw at Chelsea, which, if I said it was a just result, would you agree?
Probably, but only just. I think that in the end, 2-2, when you go down 2-0, then
Right.
that's what you get, and you kind of take the luck of the bounces and go for it. I think that there's kind of, glass half full, glass half empty. That was the worst half of football we played all year, and we were only down 1-0. And their two goals came from a penalty. I think it was the right call, but I can understand when folks that have played the game at that level, Jamie Carragher, Rio Ferdinand, other center backs are like that. There's nothing you can do about that. But
Right.
arm away from the body and high, it's going to get called every time. No issues with that. And then a cross shot that was not meant to go in and mishit into the top corner.
It's a heck of a goal.
So you've got every single break going Chelsea's way. Arsenal playing the worst they could have played,
right?
And it's still 2-2. And honestly, that missed penalty shout on Gabriel Jesus, I don't understand how you don't call that, especially after issuing an apology to Wolverhampton in week 1 for Onana doing that to them.
Well, in fairness, Robert Sanchez ran into about 11 players on that. I shouldn't say ran in. He flew in to about 11
I mean, the primary contact was into Jesus, and the other piece, there are two parts of that should have been looked at. Neither were looked at, and I think we kind of blew past it. And at the end, you take the 2-2 and you go on. But one, Sanchez cleans out Gabriel Jesus, doesn't touch the ball, completely just misses the ball and takes player out. It's a penalty every time. Should have been looked at, wasn't. And then two, Tomiyasu is getting his shirt pulled off of his body,
right,
and is unable to get a free jump on an open goal header. And so that easily could have been called as well. Neither of those looked at. Again, you can't complain about fine margins when you give yourself a hole that deep to dig out of. But honestly, other than similar to the City game, other than the early part of the game, Arsenal were kind of in control and really just kind of weathered the storm literally and were a bit sloppy in the first half. And then once they got that goal, even though it was a mistake by Sanchez, there was only one team that was going to end up winning that game at that point if they wanted to, and it was Arsenal.
There are so many ways to look at who deserved to win that match.
Yeah.
First of all, Chelsea, both of Chelsea's goals, because if they did not award the penalty on I could see that not awarded, right? Saliba's. I could see that not awarded.
Yeah.
It was so close to the contact of the ball.
He was jumping the exact same way Mudryk was too. They both had their arms
identical.
Out,
identical. If they decided to not award the penalty, I would have been like, yeah, okay. So there's that. The Mudryk goal was, sublime. But it was obviously never intended to be a shot. So those were Chelsea's two goals. So it is funny because the XG for the game was 2 to 1.5 in favor of Chelsea.
Well, the penalty is such a huge XG amount, and so
that's what it's got to be like a 0.9.
Almost 1. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So that's that, and so there was no XG on the other goal. So it speaks to what Chelsea does better than any team in the entire Premier League, which is not score when they should, right? So I think Raya's save was it on Nico Jackson.
That was a
late in the match.
great save. Yep. Yeah.
Right. That
In the
saved.
60th minute. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So that saves, keeps the score from getting worse. Like Chelsea did so many things well defensively, I thought, in the first 60, 70 minutes of the match. Right.
Sure.
And I don't know if they came off it a little bit or if they were probably still on it when Sanchez gave the ball away to Rice.
Right.
And then once that goal went in, I think you could sense Chelsea fall into a panic.
Oh yeah, and I think
I really
that's a
do.
credit to the Arsenal players too, because I think they have over the last 2 seasons built a belief that they're not out of any game. And so
it was
they're
a
going to keep pushing.
end of the game.
Yeah.
It was like they just knew that, and maybe Chelsea did too.
Yep, I think so. And I think, in the end, that Rice goal, it's not as easy as it looks.
No,
he had a lot of work to do.
It was also from incredible distance.
Yeah, and
he wasn't just outside the area, right?
Yeah, I mean, just a lot of work. And so when that goes in, you're like, yeah, all right, we're doing this. So you got to give them a lot of credit for fighting through it. I thought that ultimately, again, 2-2 fair result. At the end of the day, Arsenal still ended up with more shots, more possession, and interestingly enough, more fouls. So I don't know how, but the foul discrepancy was 14-7. And so somehow, given the physicality and the way in which Chelsea played, Arsenal still ended up with twice as many fouls as them, which did not seem indicative of the game I watched. But at the end of the day, what are you going to do? And then also you had the Cucurella clean out that just completely got ignored because they had to go to VAR.
That wasn't a foul.
Nope.
the slew foot of Saka on the sideline. Look, in fairness, not in fairness, but in maybe in fairness to life, Chelsea's game plan all along was to be physical and see what they could get away with, and until it was going to be called, they were going to do it.
Right.
And it was, I mean, whether that was fair or not, that was clearly their game plan, which is probably not a terrible game plan against Arsenal, right? I mean, if I were Chelsea and I had trouble scoring, I would be doing as much as I could get away with until I didn't get away with it. And then,
for sure.
then you have to adjust. And Chelsea was never forced to adjust.
No, and I think, part of that is the ref has to protect the players, and they just are wildly inconsistent. So who knows? I think that has been the knock on Arsenal for a long time, is you can get physical with them. Right. I don't think you can actually get physical with this team. I think there's enough steel in that spine with Gabriel, Declan Rice, Gabriel Jesus. They're a physical team, and they'll push you back. That back line is all over 6 foot when you put Tomiyasu in there. Ben White will definitely mix it up. And then, the ball comes near Saliba. I mean, he's a brilliant player. And so all three of them, you saw him just body Erling Haaland off the ball 2 weeks ago. And so I think that
City's second best player.
This physicality myth of Arsenal isn't there anymore. But if you can break up the game by being physical and slowing it down and making it choppy, that gives you an ability to stay in it with this team right now, because I don't think if that was a free-flowing game and the weather was better, Chelsea could hang for 90 minutes in an open tempo game.
No, because they can't finish. They don't know how to score. It was funny, the commentary on the Mudryk header that became the penalty. They said that the shot was on frame. That wasn't on frame. That was going to go wide. That wasn't
probably. But I mean, if from that angle, it's in the squares, it works. So, no major complaints. I think it's a good draw that we're disappointed that we drew, but still we're able to build some confidence that you can get a result when you're playing poorly, and that's going to bode well later in the season. And then they came out and just had an awesome game yesterday against Sevilla. They won 2-1, but it should have been a lot bigger scoreline than that. I mean, Gabriel Jesus, again, wow.
Is he all right?
Just an absolute gorgeous goal. And even
Well, I know
better
he
than the
scored.
goal, than his goal, his assist for Martinelli's first was, I mean, he took a man's soul on the turn. I'll have to send it to you. It was incredible.
It is Sevilla. They're mid-table La Liga club right now. But is Jesus okay? Because he took himself off late in the second half with a hamstring issue. So hopefully,
I think
he'll
he should
be
be
all
fine
right
for the weekend. Yeah.
You won't need him against Sheffield United, but we'll get to that. I want to ask you this, and I want to get to another game here from last week in a second. Because we talked about it last week.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about adjusting to. I mean, this is about David Raya David Raya adjusting to life not in the spotlight, but when you're the goalkeeper for a team like Arsenal that has designs on winning the league. It's very different from Brentford, and we still see moments early in matches. And even later in matches where he's a little shaky with what stuff that he did effortlessly and without real incident at Brentford. If Mikel Arteta is true to what he said, what he tried to sell at that press conference when he announced this is why, I've always thought that you should be able to sub goalkeepers out. A, why hasn't he done it? And B, will he go back to Ramsdale at any point? Because Raya's been a little bit, he's certainly done a lot of good things, but he's been a little suspect at times. And this is really more about calling out Mikel Arteta's BS than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I don't see it. I think that there's kind of two frames of thought here. I think there's the traditional, he's had some misplays. At the end of the day, his passing stats, the thing about goalkeeping, and I think the thing about him in particular is I think we're over-indexing his performances right now, good and bad. And at the end, he was not responsible for either goal Chelsea scored. I mean, what is he going to do about the shot from Mudryk? And it's a penalty. It's, he didn't create the penalty. And he had one in the first half, one misplayed ball that looks worse than it is because we're not used to goalies playing the ball out of the back so cavalierly. If you look back at that play, when he plays it up the middle to the Chelsea player, he had both center backs in position to defend it. And so you had Gabriel and Saliba right there. And so the turnover, you were still +1 on the man with the ball, which is all you're trying to do on defense. And then when you look at the goal, the Trossard goal, it's his long ball that creates the second phase opportunity for Saka to make that cross. And so I still think at the end of the day, he's offering more in buildup and attack, that the occasional misplayed ball really isn't a concern for Arteta. I think he would much rather him take that risk to get us going and moving us upfield when he sees the structure in place in that back line than just hoof it up and have the pressure come back at you. What we've seen repeatedly, and you watch this actually, you talk about Sheffield United, I think it's a perfect example, or Nottingham Forest with Turner. There's a conception that
Matt's kind of a disaster on the ball.
A little bit, but he's gotten better. But I think beyond that, just the intricate small passing, but what happens is when you start kicking the ball long, it starts compressing the field because you're not going to win as many of those over-the-top balls.
Mm-mm.
They're going to turn into 50-50s, and then that just gets the opposing team able to press back at you, and then you don't get to recover your shape, and then it becomes a wave and wave and wave of attack. And so we saw that last year. Actually, a perfect example of this was in the Liverpool game at Anfield when Ramsdale just started going long, and it allowed Liverpool to build and build and build and then get back into that game after being down 2-0. And it was only that the small passing that got us out and get that late chance that could have won it. And so I think what Raya is doing, I don't think he's done anything at this point to warrant being changed. And I don't think, honestly,
he's not going to be changed.
Well, even beyond that, I don't think it's a discussion. I think he's done more good than bad. Yeah, and he has not been responsible for either of the goals scored. And he got a clean sheet against City. and he's had more clean sheets than any other keeper in the league going into this point. So
he's
I just don't see.
He's been okay. He has been it's just different. Everything matters.
Exactly. I don't think
matters more.
Yeah, I don't think he's been that bad. I don't think he's even been worse than Ramsdale. I think he's been fine. I think that.
Well, I don't even remember Ramsdale playing at this point anymore.
I mean, he won the first 3 games.
I'm giving you a hard time on purpose. For not one single second did I buy what Arteta was trying to sell about subbing out a goalkeeper, since nobody does it except for injury. Hey, I know you want
to do it though. I want to see him do it.
He's not going to do it.
He's not going to
do it. He's not going to do it. But here is my question though. Yeah. Because it's clear that Ramsdale, the person, matters to everybody.
Yeah.
What happens in January?
Nothing.
So Ramsdale's not going to play, and he's got no shot to play for England in the summer.
He's not leaving, and he will have a shot to play for England in the summer, only because Pickford is still the number 1, and Pickford will be in there. I think we'll see what Southgate does. I don't think that Ramsdale playing week in, week out for a mid or lower table team is going to change his position in the eyes of Southgate at all. I think Southgate is one of those managers who, and we'll get on this later, continues to pick Maguire, continues to make weird lineup choices when you've got arguably potentially the best midfield in world football that you could run out there with Bellingham, Rice, and Foden. And yet he decides I'm confused as why people are booing Jordan Henderson. What do you mean, man? Like it's just, he's not, I don't think that's in the calculus for him. And then at the same time, Ben White is now unable to be picked for England for whatever reason, when he is arguably one of the 3 best right backs in the league right now. And so I just don't think there's, and I'm fine with it. Keep some injury free, get some rest, let him go to Ibiza or wherever he wants to go and have some fun, man. So works for me. But no, I don't think Ramsdale leaves in January. I don't even think that's a conversation starter. I think he leaves in the summer, because at the end
Chelsea
of the day,
could use him.
Well, we're not selling to Chelsea in January, that's for sure. I think what'll happen is we will keep him, because at the end of the day, if Raya picks up an injury and that run in, you want a reliable backup, and we're not selling Ramsdale to buy a backup. That's not business that we would do in January. Buying a backup keeper is business you do in the summer at the end of the window when you pick up what you can, not when you're potentially in a treble chase. If you're still in the FA Cup, you're still in the Champions League, and you're still contending at the top of the Premier League.
Watch your back, David Raya.
Those aren't moves that you're going to make. It just doesn't make sense at that point.
Head on a swivel, David Raya. I can't believe he disparaged Harry Maguire, who not only scored the lone goal in United's win over FC Copenhagen. Not only did he do that, but he and Johnny Evans were the winning center back tandem in a Premier League match victory. And
what did I tell you about Sheffield United? That team is dead to me after what they did at Spurs. I have no time for them whatsoever.
By the way, how do you think
they deserve everything that comes their way from that disaster class of giving up 3 goals in stoppage time or something? Just
it was 2, both to Scott McTominay.
No. That was
okay.
That was not Sheffield, I don't think.
Was that? That was Sheffield. I thought.
Yeah, it was Sheffield. Yeah. That was 2 weeks ago. Sheffield played United this week. I thought it was. Oh yeah,
I don't even remember.
All my days all mixed up. But
don't you disparage Harry Maguire.
I was talking about the Tottenham match a few weeks ago where they gave up some injury time goals.
Oh yeah, yes. Jack, by the way, has decided that he wants a Harry Maguire jersey. He wants a Maguire shirt. He's now all in on Harry Maguire because everybody's giving Maguire a hard time. I will say this
at one point.
I'll give him credit. He didn't want to leave ever. So yeah, I understand that everybody on the roster had to be hurt, but he hasn't been bad. nor has Johnny Evans.
They're
Although
fine. I mean, the two
it
matches
ain't going to
they've
be
played have
easy
been
at City.
no. That's a whole nother ball game. I mean, I just want to point out their October fixture list has been Galatasaray, Brentford, Sheffield, and Copenhagen. That is
Right.
not exactly a murderer's row. And
100%.
Harry Maguire is a competent Premier League level center back that can play mid-table football. And where are United in the table right now?
Oh, they're a mid-table club. There's no question.
They're squarely mid-table, and that's what they'll be. And that's fine.
I'd want to correct myself. It's not at City. It's not at the
it's at
it's at Old Trafford.
Yeah,
it's at Old Trafford. It's still, it doesn't matter where they play that match. Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire, good luck against Erling Haaland and everybody else.
Maguire actually, the issue is going to be, frankly, it's not Erling Haaland, which
he's probably okay against that because his size.
Yeah, he'll be able to be physical, and that's the space. It's going to be Julian Alvarez, and that's going to cause them problems. That's where Lisandro Martinez comes in as a big miss for them. There's nobody with pace and what's going to happen is they're going to get dragged out of position by Alvarez, which will create space for Haaland. And so that dynamic is going to be the issue, not necessarily Haaland on his own.
And I assume that Casemiro will be back for that. I just wanted to bring up the fact that Maguire and Evans have formed a center back combination the last few matches, and United's won with it. They got away with. Let me before we get into to some picks, and there's an issue I think that we should chat about for at least a minute or so.
Sure.
Could Aston Villa be a Champions League club?
Why not? I mean, I think the top three are set, and it's some combination of Liverpool, Arsenal, and City.
Yeah,
I think Tottenham right now they're top of the league. They deserve all of the plaudits they're getting. They're winning the games they should win. They've had some good results against big sides, in particular Liverpool and Arsenal, getting 4 points from those two games. So, they certainly are the favorites for that other top four spot. But the way Newcastle are playing, the way Villa are playing, and I think those two will certainly push for that top four spot. And it'll be interesting how the season unfolds. I think it's been very impressive to see Unai Emery's team do the high press, move up the field, play completely different than his Sevilla and what he tried to do at Arsenal. This is the most attacking he's ever been. Yep. It's a managerial transformation, which credit to him. I mean, it's hard to evolve as a manager, especially in football. The only person who I think has done it successfully over multiple iterations was Sir Alex Ferguson, who was able to reinvent that United team in different images. And one thing he did, which I always thought was fascinating, is every 4 years he would replace two assistants or an assistant.
Wow.
And just bring in somebody with a different perspective and a different set of eyes that just would help him continue to evolve and grow. And I'm not saying that's what Unai Emery did, but I think he has done a nice job really reinventing who he is and adapting to being a modern Premier League manager. And it's exciting. And, I'm happy to see. He seems like a good dude. And, why not? They certainly are right there.
And no Tyrone Mings either. They've been good.
And Douglas Luiz has been better than I advertised. I mean, he has been fantastic. And
who's buying Douglas Luiz in January? Who's going to try to get him?
We tried to buy him last summer as a backup, and everyone was like, I don't know about Douglas Luiz. And now you're like, oh, okay.
It's a heck of a player.
Mikel Arteta guy, he's got a good eye for talent. We'll see what happens.
If he was a goalkeeper, Arsenal would have already had him.
We would have had 3 more.
So there was a story out that I saw that there's a movement to try to institute a salary cap in the Premier League. And I am fundamentally against a salary cap because the salary cap doesn't do what people think it does. It does not create the opportunity for teams to win, not by itself. It absolutely it doesn't work that way. It doesn't create competitive balance. Major League Baseball has as much or more competitive balance without a salary cap than any other professional league. And I understand what the Premier League has been, basically the 4 or 5 wealthiest clubs seemingly having a stranglehold on everything. I understand that. But there's a lot more that goes into it. But here's my bigger question about if the Premier League goes to a salary cap. I will just ask everybody who is in the pyramid, do you really want the Saudi Pro League to be that good? Because if there's a salary cap, if suddenly City or Liverpool or Arsenal or Chelsea and they say, you know what, your wage list can't be higher than 150 million pounds. Well, then all of those players that you were going after are going to end up playing for El Ettifaq. So enjoy that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a non-starter because there's no way the FA. One of the big things about it, you got to remember, is if none of the other Big 5 leagues do it, the FA isn't going to handcuff their product for other leagues. So Germany, Italy, Spain, France, they probably should have a salary cap because of the financials.
Doesn't Spain have a version of it, though? Spain has a version of it.
Yes, but it's tied to revenue, and Real Madrid and Barcelona can spend what they want, and it's more around FFP and a little bit stricter enforcement of financial fair play that we just don't do, and maybe that's it. Is you do a little bit stronger financial fair play enforcement through UEFA on all the leagues. That might be a way to do it, but I just think it's a non-starter. I think it's the story comes around every 4 to 6 years. Especially when there's a new owner, particularly an American owner who doesn't want to spend that kind of money and thinks they can. Don't
all the American owners want to spend that kind of money? I mean,
but they're making so much money hand over fist right now. And the Premier League is the Super League. And I think you just mentioned Villa. Who would have said Villa is a Champions League team 5 years ago? And you're just seeing that the competitive balance, and you saw Leicester up there. You see Brighton up there. I think the Premier League is turning into the Super League.
Awesome.
And that's a wonderful thing. And so I think you kind of will figure it out. There's no easy games unless you're playing Sheffield, and so
or Luton.
Yeah, well, Luton's got to win.
They do have that. One thing before we go to picks, because I haven't mentioned anything at all about Liverpool, and I just want to say this. The worst thing that happened to Liverpool, and I know they won 2-0, the worst thing that happened to them was Everton going down to 10 men. Liverpool was going to break through. Oh, there's no question. Liverpool was going to break through. They didn't play a great first half. It was one of the I'm not a fan of the Merseyside derby because I haven't seen any of them that have been enjoyable to watch. It's like, in some ways, it's like a rock fight. I don't like it. But so the first half was just dreadful, and obviously that the foul, the second foul on Ashley Young, they were both yellows. It's
a red card.
They could complain all they want. They were both yellows. Ibrahim Konate probably should have gotten. It certainly was more. I don't think there was a ton of contact there, but he intentionally impeded progress.
Sure, though
they could have yellowed that.
After Kovacic's double yellows, I didn't think you were allowed to give 2 anymore.
So. Well, look, and maybe they had decided that they had red carded Liverpool enough. Sure. I don't know. I'm not complaining, but it could have been given, and nobody should have complained had it been given. But and actually, it probably would have benefited Liverpool because Everton would not have played the same way. But as soon as that red card came out, I knew exactly what Sean Dyche was going to do. He was going to put everybody behind the ball, and good luck. If Liverpool doesn't get the penalty, if they don't get to the spot, and Salah converts it. By the way, mentally, Salah's converted his last 3. This was the first one. He didn't just basically go right down the middle. So now I think Salah's back in terms of that because he missed 2 in a row. One I think was it? I think he missed one last year too. But he missed 2 in a row. He followed up one of them with a goal. He got the rebound and put it in. But he needed that because he's the first choice penalty taker, and if you get into
I mean,
a big spot,
he's the front runner right now for player of the season. I mean, he's the only player top 10 in assists and goals. He's been brilliant. And
he leads in goal involvement. He's got 11. He's got 7 goals and 4 assists.
4 assists.
He's been tremendous. Also, he tracks back. He's been playing, very, very well.
He's been playing a full 90, just playing brilliant. I mean, he's been the best player in the league to this point. First name on the team sheet for team of the season right now. I mean, he's been excellent.
But they don't, honestly, if they don't get to the spot, I think that's a 0-0 draw because they just weren't breaking them down. And then once they got the one, Everton had to at least try. And that created the opportunity.
Then there's a space behind. Yeah.
And by the way, just because he played in South America late Tuesday night, which is really Wednesday for them, and he didn't get back until almost like the end of Thursday. They didn't start Darwin. They started McAllister, who actually played very well, I thought, at the 6. And I think unless they bring somebody in, I actually think they're just going to go the rest of the season and let it ride, with McAllister mostly playing the 6 for them. But Darwin needs to be on the field as much as possible. He just creates, whether it's by him just being there or his speed or his physicality. He's better with the ball than he was a year ago. He's creating opportunities for others. I think
Bielsa has been good for him too. I think Bielsa has been really good for his development, and so I think that's a big boost for his own game, and it's translating. And so
I got to go look at it, but I think he has scored in at least 3 of the 4 games for Uruguay in the international win.
He's been playing very well. Yeah.
He's been awesome for that. And he played the full 90 both matches, so he doesn't come off the field for them. All right, should we go through this? Should we?
Let's do it.
Can't believe we've been doing this. Look at this. It's actually not that bad. All right. I've already written down my picks so I don't screw myself up like I did last week. So we have Palace hosting Tottenham. Spurs are 7 wins, 2 draws, top the table with 23 points. It's hard to believe that we're about to pass the quarter pole and they might still be on top. Who you got?
I got Tottenham. I think that they match up well against the way Palace has been playing. I think that they've got confidence, and I think folks have not quite adjusted to their ability to control possession and really be that more, I don't want to say traditional, but more free-flowing side that that can really break games open. They remind me a lot, honestly, of Arsenal last year, and it took a while for teams to give them the respect they do now. And if you look at it, that's why you see lower blocks. You see much more. I think people still think they can get at that Spurs team, and then they're trying to play them, and they're getting exposed. And so I think Spurs will win this one.
They're fast. They're athletic. They're fast. I like Vicario a ton. But Palace is going to win that. So
yeah, Palace.
I'm taking Crystal Palace.
All right. I hope you're right.
It's rolling the dice here. I don't have Jack's picks yet, but I'll drive him to school one morning and we'll get him. Chelsea home to Brentford.
Chelsea look good. I think they have a little bit more, and Brentford has struggled. I think you've mentioned it before. They may be in trouble. I still think they'll have enough, just because that bottom end of the table is rough.
Yeah, I don't think Brentford's in danger of getting relegated, but they're not going to finish much further ahead of. They're down with Wolves 16, to me.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think Chelsea win this. Not as comfortably as they think, but I think it'll be maybe a 2-1.
This is separation Saturday. I have a draw. Chelsea-Brentford draw. A West London derby, if you will. Arsenal, Sheffield United. This is the biggest favorite on the board. Arsenal is minus 800 over Sheffield. If you're daring enough, Sheffield is plus 1700.
I mean, plus 1700. You may, it's just tempting enough of a number that you're like, I mean, $1 ain't that. I mean, a unit isn't that bad there, but you got to take Arsenal here.
I have Arsenal as well.
I told you I'm not. I'm not picking Sheffield again this season.
By the way, the standing, you lead by 2 games.
You probably have more points, right?
I do. I have 27-15. You have 23-30.
All right.
Jack came as close as he has all season to winning the week. He was also you and Jack were both 6-4, but Jack was plus 100. You were plus 180.
Right.
Let's Bournemouth home to Burnley. Whew. Yes, exactly.
Yikes.
By the way, bad news. Tyler Adams, 5 months, hamstring surgery.
That sucks. Well, get right.
Does.
Get fit. I think the season's kind of a wash for Bournemouth, so it doesn't really affect him too much, and I think it'll be better for him in the long run. So, that being said, I think at some point, Bournemouth have to get a win, right? Like
they don't have to, but
I mean, we've got 2 teams.
This would be a spot.
I mean, this seems like a place where you kind of got to do it at home, and so I'm going to take Bournemouth. Mainly
you sound
because
so confident about that.
They kind of, yeah. So
I have Bournemouth too. Dominic Solanke should have 2 goals. I couldn't name you a player on Burnley. So yeah, but I feel bad for Bournemouth. But then again, like Gary O'Neill kept you up, and then you dumped him right before the start of the season. You're gonna get what you deserve.
Yeah, and he's done a very nice job with Wolves.
It's done a tremendous job. That team I don't even know how they do it, but they have enough where I'm actually not concerned about Wolves staying up. Speaking of Wolves, home to Newcastle. Wolves are a pretty big underdog. Newcastle is a favorite on the road at minus 135. Wolves at home plus 330.
Newcastle have been playing great. I think they lead
what happened
the league in goal differential. They did lose 1-0 to Dortmund, but they're still in the hunt for that group. I think they're now in second.
Oh,
in
yeah,
that group,
they're right in it.
It's going to be really interesting group through the end of it. But in the league, they've been awesome.
They're third. Well, they're tied with Dortmund.
Okay. But yeah, but in the league, I mean, 24 goals by far, them and Villa free flowing, but only 9 against. So they still have some of that defensive solidity from last year, plus 15 goal differential, just kind of really, really making their statement after a little bit of a slow start. But I don't know. I feel a draw in this one. I think Wolves are just a little bit of a wild card, and I like the way they're playing, and I like what Gary O'Neill's doing.
I also have that as a draw.
All right.
I do. I thought today, I was listening to a little bit. They kept cutting to that match as I was listening to. Is it Milan or Milan, depending on who you listen to? Milan at PSG, which was an absolute whitewashing. Speaking of whitewashing, Charlotte FC is out. I think they gave up 5 to Red Bulls.
I believe I got the text from a buddy of mine in Charlotte with Charlotte continuing the tradition of embarrassing play-in losses.
Just not good. But hey, at least David Tepper got a team into the playoffs.
Right.
But
you got to crawl before you can walk.
Newcastle probably should have scored a couple of based on what they were discussing. But I also have a draw. I am super, super impressed by Wolves, by Neto. I think they're good. I think they're they play. They just never seem to be rattled.
Yeah,
I've really enjoyed watching them, and has Newcastle been great? Yeah, but I don't think they're always going to be great. And some of this is something strange can happen. And at some point, Newcastle, who doesn't have a very deep squad, right? At some point, Wednesday, and I think this match is Saturday. It's a Wednesday-Saturday deal. That's got to matter at some point. So I also have a draw there. We have West Ham home to Everton.
I think I'm going to take Everton in this one. I think
Whoa.
I know. I know I had picked them to be a relegation team, but they've started to come on a little bit.
Oh, I think they're
West
okay.
Ham has been, I think they'll be fine. Similar to Wolves, I had both of them down. I think they'll both be up. I think that, I like Everton. I think they'll sneak this one out, mainly because I
Wow.
haven't been too impressed with West Ham of late. They've been a little bit too erratic for my liking. They came in hot and were looking like a stronger team, but have
Yeah.
slowly started dropping down. And then the Villa performance was laughable. And so
I
I think
actually
that
think that match was pretty close until
sure.
late. I mean, Villa
Um,
did a lot of that late. West Ham
yeah, but you
equalized with
can't.
Bowen.
Yeah, but you can't let yourself get embarrassed like that, especially when you're trying to compete for European places.
Right.
So I just think Everton will they're due for one, and I think they'll get 3 points here.
All right. I've got West Ham. Look, you and I are. We have like three. Well, we're three and three. We have three of the same, and three we're on opposite ends. I'm pretty sure we're going to get this one the same.
Yep.
Liverpool
The
home
next
to
few.
Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, Liverpool. That's sorry, Matt. I think
Well,
they could be ugly.
oh, you have Matt Turner.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about Liverpool. This is a stretch, and if they're real, and I think they're real, I'm not really
I
concerned
think they're a
about.
Champions League team. Yeah, they're top four. They're
Well,
no
I
doubt.
mean, I think that because I don't believe City is going to be where City was last year.
No.
I think without De Bruyne for all this stretch and Gundogan at Barcelona,
Mm-hmm.
Holland is not the same Erling Holland. Maybe he's just lying in the weeds now, but he's not the same player. He isn't even their best attacking player right now. That's Alvarez.
We laugh because he's got 9 goals in 9 weeks.
Well, yeah, he does. He does a lot of that against
Yeah, and he scores
dregs.
in bunches. He's scored in
Yeah.
bunches so far. So yeah.
So, but this is a stretch of matches where Liverpool. So starting with the Everton match, 7 of 8. I mean, should be wins. So, and then the other match is after the next international break, another 7 or 12:30 start on a Saturday right after the international break at the Etihad. So, Jurgen Klopp complained, and now it seems like, hey, you guys are going to start us off after the international break. But I think Liverpool is a contender to win the league. They have some holes, but they also have the best attack in the sport, and that will cover up for a lot of things. I like obviously Allison helps, but I actually think that we've seen really good Virgil. The question is, can Kanate stay healthy? And I think the bigger issue for them right now is that Tsimikas has to play left back because they have no Robertson. And Robertson, my guess, is going to be out 2 months.
Oof.
He had
Yeah, I mean, it's a
separated
good stretch.
shoulder,
Back
right?
to your point, though. Back to your point, this is a good stretch for him to be out. I think they have enough to get through it. So, timing matters for injuries, and it's good timing.
Yeah, I just don't know when. I mean, 2 months might be optimistic. It might be longer. It was a separated shoulder. So hopefully he comes back. But right now, Tsimikas has to play, and they've got Europa, and there's EFL, and FA is going to start soon. So they don't have another option at left back that's over 20.
I
So
think
they'll be plucking somebody out of their academy or using Joe Gomez as a left back, which
we'll see.
not ideal.
I don't think we're going to learn a ton about Liverpool over the next few months. I think these were games they should win. December, we'll find out who they are.
I mean,
That month is they play United, Arsenal, and Newcastle, and I know all three at home. But I think it'll be interesting to see, and then in there there'll be some cup ties that'll get sandwiched in, and so
they're going to be busy.
Christmas period will be very busy. So we'll see what happens.
They are going to be busy. All right, Villa home to Luton. Should we just say all right, Villa, and move on? All right,
Villa
good.
And move on.
Brighton and Fulham. Brighton has been on the struggle bus of late.
They have, but I still like them. I still think that I don't trust Fulham on the road.
They can't score,
even though they got 2 goals at Arsenal, which is wild to me. But I think at the end, Brighton will have too much.
All right. I also have Brighton. And the Manchester Derby closes this off.
I think this is going to be a little bit closer than people want to give give credit to. I think City have looked a little bit rusty. City have looked a little bit shaky, but I think after losing to Arsenal in their last big game, having Rodri back, and having Holland, Alvarez, Foden, Grealish, Doku,
Grealish doesn't even play.
they've got so many options
I know.
still. Even though they're a thin squad, they're smaller.
Bernardo Silva will be a major factor in this match.
Yeah. I think Bruno Fernandes can get at that City back line a little bit, and he can create some opportunities for them. And Rasmus Højlund seems like a solid player who does the things that Holland does, just maybe not quite as well at his age. And so he'll be definitely a danger man for him, and could create something. But I think United's only real chances are going to come off the set piece. And I just think City have too much, and they're going to be a little bit extra motivated to make a statement. And so I think City win this pretty comfortably in the end, but it'll be tight for large stretches of the game.
I have this as a draw.
All right.
Yeah, because you just cannot penetrate Maguire and Johnny Evans in the middle. It's one of the really hope picks that I've got. But I have just not been that impressed. I just haven't. So
no, they haven't. They haven't looked. They haven't looked themselves.
They're City, and they're City, and that you can just say that and probably be right most of the time.
Yep.
But I haven't been impressed, and I think United's going to fight, and I think it's going to be a physical match. And at Old Trafford, I just give them a puncher's chance.
Why not?
And I'll take a swing at plus 290 for the draw. If you want to go United to win, plus 370. When was the last time United was plus 370 at home?
I don't know. That's a big number, though.
It's enormous.
Especially for a club like United. But yeah, I think it'll be a good game, though. It'll be fun to watch.
All right, sir. There's a match on Friday.
Yeah,
Tottenham match is Friday. Then we got 4 Saturday and 5 Sunday, something like that. I think it's a 1, 4, 5.
So there's nothing on Monday this week, which is nice. So
yeah. Well, there's no Champions League next week. It's 2 weeks later.
Yep.
So do we get the midweek off, or are we back to EFL Cup?
I think we're back. I believe we have. I think we've got the week off, but we'll see.
Do we?
I
don't know. I don't want a week off. I don't have to play. I just want to watch or listen.
In midweek, yeah. I don't think there's anything midweek.
That's a bummer, man. I want some.
There is League Cup. There is League Cup on the Arsenal play West Ham in the League Cup on November 1st.
Yeah, City doesn't have to worry about it because they lost to Newcastle.
Exactly. Smart.
Yeah, Pep threw it. All right, sir. Enjoy your week. I will talk to you next week.
All right. Take care.